In today's trauma processing video, we're going to discuss creating a safe space. This safe space, I'd like you to think of using when you're journaling your feelings, doing processing work from a self-help book or from a therapist, or maybe even doing some of the exercises recommended on our website or through one of these videos. How do you find a safe space? If you live by yourself, you can pretty much pick any room you want. So I would suggest walking around your place and just pausing in each room and thinking about which room you feel safest in. You may already know off the top of your head that you feel safest in the living room or your bedroom or whatever room. And then once you pick a room, then within that room, pick an area of the room to make a safe space in. If you live with family or friends or roommates, you might be limited to just your bedroom for your safe space. And that's okay, because even within your bedroom, you can create a safe space. The trickiest part is if you share your bedroom with someone else. Then you may not have as much access to space that is just yours and yours alone. So if you share your bedroom, I would consider, I have a few suggestions for you. So first of all, maybe creating a space in your bedroom that can be you can make into a safe space and then take it down when your roommate comes in. Or consider creating a safe space in the bathroom. So locking yourself in the bathroom for 30 minutes to an hour at a time to do your processing. So creating a safe space in a room that you share with someone else, or going into the bathroom or using another room and asking other people not to bother you for a certain amount of time, requires you telling them a little bit about what you're doing. And if you're anything like most trauma survivors, it's kind of the last thing you want to do, right? We don't want to broadcast, oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed, please don't bother me. Because most people who care about us are going to want to help us or ask us what's going on and ask us questions that we're not ready to answer, we don't want to answer, or maybe we don't even really have the answers yet. We're feeling this feeling and we don't know what it is. If we can't even explain to ourselves what it is, we certainly can't explain to whoever's asking us. So I know it can be hard if you share a bedroom to find a safe space. So if there's not a specific time when you know your roommate won't be there, or if you know if you spend too long in the bathroom, people are going to be knocking on the door asking you what's going on, then consider places outside of your home that maybe might be a safe space. So if you have a car, maybe you could drive the car or borrow a car to an empty parking lot or a space like that and kind of create a safe space in your car. Some public libraries have rooms you can rent out, or you can have quiet rooms. You can use the space by yourself, or some of them have those desks that have a really big bookcase so no one can see what you're doing and you have a sense of privacy that way. Of course, I know the public library really isn't ideal, especially if you're afraid you're going to be crying or some other loud emotion that might attract attention. But it's something to consider, maybe a place to start, and maybe you can go from there. Or maybe you have a friend's house that you could go to when they're not at home, or if they're playing a video game really loud, you can sneak off, you can go into another room and know that you won't disturb anyone. So once you've figured out what room you're going to use, now figure out what area of the room. A lot of people feel more comfortable when their back is to the wall, and especially in a corner. And it sounds kind of silly, but being able to see the whole room from any angle, it kind of satisfies that animalistic part of us, like the reptilian brain. If you've heard neuroscientists or psychologists talk about that part of our brain, where it is very animalistic and we have that impulse to always be aware. So if we're in a corner of a room and we can see every door and every window, every way anyone could come in at us, we actually feel a little more relaxed than if we didn't. So try it out, see if you feel the same way, and maybe you do and maybe you don't, but just try it and see. I do know a few survivors who have actually made their safe spaces on the floor of their closet. A closet is small and confined. There's one way in and one way out. And it adds another sense of privacy, and kind of the darkness feels safer to some people. Some people don't feel safe in the dark at all, and that's okay. If your closet doesn't have an overhead light and darkness isn't a safe feeling for you, then don't consider the closet. It's just an idea of something that has worked for other people I know. After you've tried out a few areas in the room that you like, consider what you will sit on. Will you sit on a cushion or a pillow? Will you bring a chair that's comfortable into the corner? Is there a particular chair that maybe is your favorite chair that somehow you could incorporate into your safe space? Maybe a beanbag. What feels comfortable to you? What would feel really safe to you? I'd also ask you to consider having a blanket in your safe space. Many survivors, especially survivors of sexual assault or more severe physical abuse, really feel safer when they're under a blanket. Whether the blanket is just over your legs and you've kind of like tucked in, or whether you wrap the blanket around your shoulders and kind of cocoon yourself, whatever feels safest to you. Many survivors feel more comforted and safer with the blankets. I know many people may only have one blanket that they can choose from, but if you're lucky enough to have more than one blanket that you can choose from, take your time and consider which blanket feels safer to you, or just which blanket do you feel more comforted by. Does one blanket hold sentimental feelings over another blanket? Does one color or maybe the softness, the texture of a blanket feel just a tiny bit better than the other blankets for you? There's nothing wrong with that. Take your time and be selective and just really think about it. If you can afford to buy a special blanket for your safe space, then by all means do. And take your time shopping for the blanket. Consider the color and the texture and how big do you want it? Do you want it like a big king size blanket, or is that going to be too bulky? So you want it maybe more like a queen size or a twin size, a little blanket just to cover up your legs. Think about all of those things if you choose to buy a blanket for your safe space. And any of you who don't have a blanket to choose from, but like the idea of covering up with something, maybe cover up with a sweatshirt. Either wear a sweatshirt with a hoodie, that can be comforting, or you could wear a sweatshirt and put another sweatshirt over your legs to add kind of the feel of a blanket. So there are lots of ways where we can make ourselves feel even safer in our safe space. And I'd like you just to take a few minutes and consider all of those things as you create your safe space. I know some of these suggestions may seem silly or trite or childish, but the intention here is to do everything we can to make you feel as safe as you can when you are processing difficult emotions. When your emotions feel overwhelming, we want everything in your environment to say to you, it's okay to feel this. Because ultimately it is.